I will chant 47 to 51. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuः ma te sangostva karmani yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam kripanah palahetavaha buddhiyukto jahatiha ubhe sukruta dushkrute tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam karmajam buddhiyuktahi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchantyanamaham. Namayam, sorry, not nama. So, we saw yesterday, Krishna is advising Arjuna that the best way to deal with the conflicting situation which has brought about deep affectation, has created confusion, has left behind or is leaving a sense of loss of direction, the best thing to do is to take recourse in performance of one's duties. अपने कर्तव्य को करने की योग्यता, क्षमता, साहस. Because what you really require at that time is the strength to continue performing your duties. So, Krishna is saying that is truly the best way to free your mind of such a vulnerability, to free yourself of such a vulnerability, of such a weakness that overpowers you. To free yourself of such a situation, the best thing is to stick to doing actions as per your duties. And not only that, you may gain some immediate relief, some immediate peace of mind. But when you do those actions with yoga buddhi, and yoga buddhi means doing those actions in a sense of releasing your mind from the hold of the worries, the anxieties of the outcomes that may come from your actions. If I do this, then what will happen? So while we are doing actions, freeing mind from those anxiousness and fears, keeping the mind balanced, even in performance of the duty, during the performance of the duty, that is going to result in a far greater gain. What gain? You will have an adhyatmic gain, gati. You will have an adhyatmic push, movement towards your own inner nature, towards the truth, which eventually, ultimately, helps you to to be free completely from this susceptibility of any form of affliction ever, because there will be freedom from the very doer of an action, the sense that I'm doing something. Once you have freedom from that, then you no longer are the one who is receiver of the fruit, and so you no longer need a situation in the environment which is going to be conducive for the manifestation of your karma phala, for you to enjoy them or experience them. Therefore, you get freed of it. So, samatvam yoga uchyate, buddhau sharanam anvichha. Have a desire, a deep desire, develop a desire that I am taking sharanam. Sharanam as in, I am allowing myself to surrender to the knowledge that has been given to us in the scripture, in this Vedantic Shastra, here in the context of us being students of Gita, in the knowledge that Gita offers us, Krishna offers us. I surrender myself to such a knowledge which is telling me to take alignment of my thoughts and actions, my intentions, thoughts and actions with Buddhi Yoga. Train myself, condition myself, or practice myself. Develop that desire to pursue a state of your well-being which is not dependent on situations immediately. A state of your mental well-being which is relatively free from, or I will rephrase it, you are putting in the effort to use the situations to free yourself from it. Abhyas karne ka. Therefore, buddhau sharanam anvichha. Take a recourse, take your surrender, take your will, intention, join to it कि जो भी हम कर्म करें, वो कर्म हमारा is an offering to the totality, to Ishvara, to Bhagwan, to, if I can't relate that high, then to whoever is in front of me. Let me do my work in such a way that benefits the other. Fairly broadly. Buddhau sharanam anvichha. Why should you take such a recourse? Because Shastra's job is, Shastra's purpose is, Shastra has to remind us constantly that we as Jiva Buddhi get involved and absorbed in immediate life. Shastra's vision is to expand our sight and tell us that this life of yours is just a short sojourn. हमें वो 80-90 साल दिखता होगा, बहुत एक एक दिन लंबा लगता है, हमें कुछ भी लगे, but from Shastra Drishti, it is a very short time, and If you do not utilize this opportunity towards untying yourself, freeing yourself, then you are losing out on something great. You're losing an opportunity जो बहुत valuable है. Human birth is very precious, very valuable. Therefore, the time that has come as a human being, that time is very precious, and that effort that you can put in becomes very precious. Therefore, scriptures, Shastra, here Krishna tells us, इसकी आदत बनाने में भी थोड़ा वक्त चाहिए, थोड़ी practice चाहिए. How much time? Psychologically, I believe it has been said that to form any habit, you need to repeat it without a break for 21 days. If you do something for 21 days, your mind gets used to it and you form a new habit. And to break any old habit, therefore, you do whatever the new habit you want to form, you must be persistent. That effort must be there for 21 days. After that, the mind starts cooperating. It starts following you. It starts to enjoy that new habit. It starts forgetting the old habit. It gets involved with the new habit. This 21 day means about plus minus consistency in that. So what is Karam Yoga? It is a new form. It is fresh. It is something different from what I am designed naturally for. Default mechanism, I will act for phal. But if I have to act without orienting for phal, this is something new to my mind. Therefore, I need a little time for it, for that practice. Now, 21 days is for very regular practices. But sure enough, just a few weeks and a month, this mind becomes comfortable at some point. It becomes such a nature of oneself कि हम कर्म सिर्फ अर्पण करके ही कर सकते हैं. हम कर्म नहीं तो मतलब वो बनता नहीं है. That sankalp, unless and until it is that this action I am only initiating because I see there is a greater gain. I can do an action. I have trained my buddhi in such a way to identify my role in society, in my family, in my workplace, that I am able to identify an action plan. Karam kar sakte hain, which is going to be for a greater gain. And I have the enthusiasm and the will to see through that action till it completes itself. And thereby, since the fruit is already seen in favor of the totality, whether it's society or it is my workplace or it is my family, I don't have to detach from the fruit. What is the difference? People who are very attached to the fruit, the question then asked is, how do I detach and then do? Karam Yoga means the very beginning of your action must be towards totality. कर्म ऐसे करो कि हित सबका हो रहा है. That's why we always say सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः. संकल्प है सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः. There is no Vedic karma also which is not inclusive of may my action benefit the society. May my action benefit people. If I'm doing Surya Upasana, if I'm doing any Upasana, if I'm doing any Vratam, if I'm doing any Vaidika karma also, any Yajna, even if it is seen from Sakam, you will find that there is a line that comes in that prayer, in that attitude which says, let this karma that I have generated, let the phal of this karma be for the sake of totality. That is my sankalp, which means I am not identifying with the sukh bhog that my karma can bring to me. मैं उससे जुड़ नहीं रही हूँ. मेरे कर्म से जो मुझे मिलना है उससे मैं जुड़ नहीं रही. और मेरा कर्म definitely in this context here would be Karam Yoga means dharmic karam. That means sukrita. The karmas that I am doing through my filtration of my buddhi. I have chosen to do a karma. That chosen karma, when I see that it is going to benefit others, then I am already withdrawn from the result. In fact, the wise person is, when you are not established in Sankhya Yoga yet, and you are in the stage of Chitta Shuddhi, you are in the stage of wanting to do Karam Yoga so that I am qualifying for the knowledge. At that time, a seeker, a student, a sadhak, whatever you want to name them, is intelligent and is wise enough to keep the gati of their karmas in such a way that by the time they finish a karma, they should not be waiting for the result to come and then, no, the result is offered. Yajna mein dal diya, usko havan mein dala hai. Hal ko mere ko apne pe lana hai. It is anyway bound to come. So the mind is not left lingering on the result. Before the mind indulges in it, the jiva puts it in another action. Another stream of action, another stream of kartavya nishtha karam. Jo bhi kartavya identify, let me do that. Whether it is seen as right from the society angle or not, whether people see it as correct thing to do or not, a sadhak is withdrawn, a seeker is withdrawn. Society and its norms, if you are still in conflict of, then certainly there needs to be more nishtha in the path that the Shastra shows. You need more shraddha in it, because society is determined, the movement of the society is determined by what? Is determined by the sensory movements, sensory pleasures. The masses are always going to be following the path of the senses. I also follow the path of the senses till a jiva, till I resolve that I need to use my life for something which is going to be valuable. Then my search started to ask, what is that more valuable than what everyone is doing? What everything I am also doing only. I'm also everyone. When you start seeing that I am able to generate a stream of action, you keep your mind only centered on what is to be done, resolved away from what will I get from it, what not, that, I forget the exact word, that shortness of sight. मन बिल्कुल संकुचित है, जो सिर्फ अपने बारे में सोचता है और कर्म करता है. कृपणः, it is called. That kripanaha is not a wise decision to live a life with. It's not a wise path. It is not beneficial for you. Therefore, those who work for phal ichha, they are kripanaha. They are missing out on a huge opportunity. And it's like saying, you have won a lottery, but there are people who win all these big, what are these things on television that are there, those reality shows, and they win big money, but they don't know how to use it. They've never had so much money. There is indiscrimination suddenly, and they lose it all. Within a few months, you find them struggling worse than before. Human birth is like that. अगर इसको constant strife में नहीं रखा, and I'm using the words very carefully here, I'm not trying to exaggerate or underrate it so that the message is clear and conveyed. Human birth में अगर इसको strife for the higher में नहीं रखा, so your story will be like one of those reality show winners who win crores of rupees, and then they don't know how to handle that money, and then in a few months' time they are more miserable than before. You've heard of those stories? Yeah? that is kripanaha. That's what Shastra says is kripanaha. So keep your mind attached to that. Buddhi yuktaha. Now he's resolved this. Now if you look at the thought flow that comes, he said here, tataha yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papama vapsyasi. One reasoning was finished here. Therefore, get up. This was a reasoning from Sankhya Drishti. Sankhya Drishti, he said, get up and fight. You are not to get involved in what you are Atma. Atma doesn't die. Have recourse in that knowledge and do what you're supposed to do. Then no karma phal will touch you. If you can identify Sankhya Buddhi and you do your karma, the results will not affect you. Punya Pap doesn't affect you because Atma is a Karta, Atma is a Bhokta, and you are Atma. Therefore, the Karma Pradhan Karta is only Upadhi, and that Upadhi means it's only just one of the means, and you're just performing the action for the sake of just performing it, and there is no onus on that action at all. Therefore, you do not become the fruit bearer of it. One reasoning was done. Then he had started the process of karma. To know Sankhya Buddhi, you need to have a maturity of mind. ये जो पकड़ के छोटी बातों पे चाहे tantrumist that our mind is. For small things, it's hurt, it's pained, it's attached, it's pleasure seeking, it's fearful, it's insecure, it is etc. These are the things that keep us dissatisfied or unhappy in life. Therefore, that is an indication that my mind is not reflective, is not in knowing the higher. Therefore, qualify it. To qualify it, he had started. What will keep you free from this cycle of karma that you generate as a karta? That pratigya he formed here. Buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. He said, I have already told you Sankhya Buddhi. Now I am going to tell you Buddhi Yoga. That Buddhi Yoga is Yoga Buddhi. Change the word sequence. Buddhi Yoga is Yoga Buddhi. And that Yoga Buddhi in the next context is said as Karam Yoga Buddhi. But in certain context, Karam Yoga Buddhi is leading to Chitta Shuddhi, is leading to Gyan Yogyata, is leading you to seek the knowledge from a sampradaya, from a teacher, and that is allowing you to have Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, and that will give you complete knowledge. Therefore, that entire thing is also called Buddhi Yoga. Karma Yoga leading to Sankhya Yoga. Sometimes the context is that, sometimes here in this context, it is Buddhi Yoga is Karma Yoga to start with. He will conclude it as Sankhya Yoga later on. Therefore, he said, Pratigya fresh formed. There's a new statement made. What is the statement here? I will now tell you Buddhi Yoga, hearing which, knowing which, abiding in which, practicing which, living which. When your mind is tuned to it, it's like, there are these screws nowadays in fresh furniture or something like that. Even some jars have these. That if the screws are not aligned, then they get stuck. होते हैं ना? ऐसा कुछ होते हैं? You can nod. There are some screws or something that they get stuck, and then they're difficult to open it, they're difficult to continue further. He said, those are, if your mind is not aligned to the laws that are giving you freedom, and you wrongly screw, means thoughts you entertain, anything, actions you do any which way, relations you form without any consequences, things you do without dharma in perspective, Marzi se jina, marzi, then that means now these are your screwing which is going to block it. It's not
You need
aligned
to
to the
align.
very nature of law. Sorry.
You need to align everything in line. Like, it has to
Exactly.
be all aligned
So
properly.
that, correct. So that alignment that he's talking about is Buddhi Yoga, Karam Yoga. That Karam Yoga, he said, Buddhi Yuktaha Yaya. Once you are aligned like that, Karma Bandham Prahasyasi, your Karma Bandham will be destroyed, will go away. And then so this pratigya that he forms in 39th verse, he now concludes again in the 50th verse. He's given the whole logic there of karma. Karma, karma kand, sakama karma is avaram. Palahetavaha is tripanaha. Samatvam yoga is karam yoga. Karam yoga means siddhi asiddhi samaha bhutva, becoming that. Tasmat yogaya. Therefore, once again, tasmat. See the before nigamanam. Here, tasmat uttishta kaunteya, verse 37. When the Sankhya Yoga was concluded, tasmat uttishta. Now when Karam Yoga is, one portion is concluded, one topic is conveyed, tasmat yogaya. That was uttishta, rise yourself and fight. Now he says, identify the Buddhi Yoga and Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam. When you are identified with your Buddhi Yoga and you are giving up your Sukrita Dushkrita Phalam, that action that you do, Karam Yog ka kiya hua Karam hi Kaushal hai. That's the finest action. You cannot rise above this. Human being upadhi, you cannot perfect the action. What is a perfect action? If you want to call it a perfect action, what would be a perfect action? A lot of people have this idea, most people have this idea. Perfection in action means becoming skillful in action and becoming perfect in what you do. जो हम कर रहे हैं वो बिल्कुल perfect होना चाहिए. That's not perfection. When your karma is done with yoga buddhi, that action that is executed, that has originated, that has started, that is taken birth now, that action is called kaushalyam in you. That is a kushalta. That is the skill, not skill in action, but Karam Yoga is the skill possible from all types of actions. Now, when supposing who rises, okay, let's not go there. So that skill in action, becoming, achieving more and more degrees, becoming more and more qualified, and becoming a super specialist, having double PhDs, attaining that kind of a skillness, is not skill in action. The skill is in your buddhi. सकामता से मन को डायरेक्ट करके धीरे धीरे अर्पणम में लाना. And that arpanam means I need shanti. First statement of acceptance. Nobody likes disturbance in life. I need shanti. My methods of shanti have all been short of shanti. They give me happiness for some time, but I am disturbed again. So my method that I know or I follow from the world, the method that the world gives me, they all fall short of giving me the shanti that I look for. Now I have chosen, or I am hearing, or I am listening, or I want to know what is that method of shanti that is lasting. That will at least give me a sense of a genuine पूर्णता, accomplishment in that sense. कि एक शांति, these words are very misleading. If I use to convey it as accomplishment, it's misleading. But I guess everyone understands the gist of it and the spirit of it. The ideas, words cannot convey everything. You just have to see the spirit from where the word is coming from. This means that here now I am allowing this buddhi yuktaha to be abided in, and that is extreme precision. I think the right word would be, it is an extreme precision of correction of attitudes and thoughts. It's very precise. इतना precise है कि only that precise method of performing action will give you chitta shuddhi. What is the precision? He says, my actions are offered. Arpanam kya hai? There are two ways in which arpanam has been understood. One way is, I offer my karma and my capacity to perform action to Ishvara, to the totality. जो भी मेरा सामर्थ्य है, ये मेरा नहीं है, ये मैं नहीं हूं. If I have a capacity today to do something and I'm recognized in society for it, or I'm equipped for it by situation I have, if there's a super specialist, say, in a field of medicine, he had the opportunity, so he could, or he fought for it, whatever. But there was some, he is today a well-known super specialist. If he's to arrogate it to himself, I am a super specialist. I am the one who worked hard. I am the one who did it. He's not wrong. Of course he worked hard. Of course it's not wrong. But the minute he arrogates it, that kripanaha starts. Kripanta starts. He's now started to reduce his scope of action only to himself. Now, supposing he is to return it back, if I am one of those who was blessed enough to have such opportunities, I offer my capacity, I get the capacity from Ishwar, who gives me, these situations have come, I offer it back. Here afterwards, whatever I do it in the interest of the patient. I do it in the interest of the person. What is the best I can do for them? Whatever I get, will it be ever less for my sustenance? Will it ever be less?
No,
it will never be less for my sustenance, because the better you do for the patient, what will happen?
The more patients will come to you.
More patients will come. Karma yoga can never be counter. We studied it before. It can never have a counter result. It will always give you it is only our inner hesitation, our own inner chotapan, littleness that we are actually. It is only that littleness that prevents us from following Karma Yoga. That is why they say the first step is a leap of faith. First step is Shraddha. Either it comes in Shastra or in the spoken words of our gurus, our teachers in the lineage, or Krishna, Rama, any of the deities, wherever you find, it could be anything that inspires, holds your mind to give up that littleness from within and allow your action to float, to generate momentum, to benefit whatever your field of activities objects are. Who is in your field of activity? If you are a teacher, who is in your field, object of your field of activity?
Students.
Student. If you are a painter, who's the object of your activity?
Customers.
Customers.
Clients.
If you are whichever field. Is it difficult to identify? If you are a tailor, who's your object of customer will fall into all of these. So it is not at all difficult. In fact, the easiest is truly speaking कर्म योग. सबसे आसान कर्म योग करना है क्योंकि आपके सर के ऊपर आपके कंधों से बोझ उठ गया. You don't have to take the worry and the pressure and the concerns of your well-being. Even your well-being, you can leave the concern of.
And if you offer it to God, you will always put in the best. Whatever you will be able to do. If you
Exactly.
offer it to God, you do the best you can.
Absolutely. If you offer it to God, you will always do your best. One of the finest, I'm throwing ideas because to each one of us, see, there's not one idea that can bring you to Karam Yoga. We can all have our own distinct starting point of identification of the attitude, but it will still be Karam Yoga. These are many attitudes that can fall into Karam Yoga. It's not one thought that everybody has to follow. The principle is this: under this principle, according to your personality trait, according to your gunas, according to who you identify yourself with as a person, you will find there is a scope of doing Karam Yoga. There is a question: if I'm a butcher, who's the object of my action? If you're
Customer.
a butcher,
You still have
exactly.
customers.
And there is a story of the butcher. I'm sure you've heard of the story of the butcher. There was a Pandit, a Karmakandi. This is a story handed down in lineage. I do not know where it comes from. I've never referred it. It just conveys a point and I take the point. There was probably a Puranic story, it must be. There was a Karmakandi, a strong Karma Mimamsaka, Karmakandi, which means he will do his Agnihotras, he will do all those karmas very regularly, and swear by them. And he was quite well known in his society, very accepted, respectable, enlightened person, so-called. And he had this air about himself that he is this. Across him was a butcher where he stayed. So in those olden days villages, there were mitti ki galiyan, so just across him was a butcher. Now he was cursing the butcher every time he came out of his house or his wherever. And he would tell him, why don't you shift? Why don't you shift? All the time killing. Take Bhagavad. Do something good karma. This is a bad, you're killing. It's a bad karma you're incurring. You're doing papam. You're doing hinsa. And as a result of which, what will happen? You are going to go to hell. तुमको नरक मिलेगा और इतना नरक मिलेगा, ये है वो है. Come to my sharan, I will teach you what is karma. Do those karmas. Give up this profession. Do something else. And the butcher, it was a family. In those days, people upheld their family professions. So it was a family profession. His father did, his grandfather did, his great-grandfather. So he thought this is what his family duty was. So he was sticking to doing what his duty was. But because he knew this is a heinous action, every time he cut, he took Ram Ram in his mind. Every time his knife struck, he said Ram Ram. He just said Ram Ram. That's it. And being true to his family duty. He just felt, मेरे पूर्वजों का कर्म है, मुझे मेरा धर्म बनता है कि मैं इसको कंटिन्यू रखूं. But उनके पूर्वज जैसे भी करते थे, he also knew the sanskar doesn't come easily. If he had the thought to do Ram Ram, there must be some samskar. So he did Ram Ram. It so happened that the Pandit dies and the butcher also dies. And when the Pandit dies, he is taken to hell. And the butcher dies, he is taken to heaven. So the Pandit is very upset, angry. And Yamadut ke doot se, he is asking, Yamadut se, the doot that had come of Yamaraj to take him, he asks him, what are you doing? There's a mistake in Yama's books, in his logs, there is a mistake happened. Maybe the address was interchanged. It is he who should be going to hell. And I have all my life taken his name. I have done karmas in his name. I am the one who has done all Vaidika ordained karmas. I am a Vaidika follower. I have done it. Therefore, there is an error. I can't be taken. I'm not entering the hell. You go back to Yama, ask him what is the problem, and I refuse to enter the gates of hell because I don't deserve it. I'm not going in. The Dut was helpless. He goes to Yama and he tells him, Ziddi insan atak gaya hai, ja hi nahi raha hai, and he's hung in between birth and death. He's neither entering the afterlife nor is he continuing to be on earth. What am I to do? Yama tells him, he says, just go back and tell him, how many times has what did he say to the neighbor across? What did he say to the neighbor across? So the Dut comes back and sure enough Pandit realizes, उसने जितना कर्स किया है, every time he was cursing the butcher has also got added to the counter of the karmas that he did. Whereas every time this person was butchering, he was saying Ram Ram. That Ram Ram has also got added to him. So, keeping the logs fair, it is absolutely, there's no mistake in his logs. And sure enough, Pandit realizes that it was nothing but arrogance on his part. It was only ahankar. कर्मों में सिर्फ अहंकार था, पांडित्यम का अहंकार था, and that ahankar, even if the action was supposed to be that of a pandit, ahankar was something that destroyed the phal of the opportunity. It made it kripanaha. Therefore, the object of butchering is also, you don't have to, it's a customer, it is Ishvara's given job to you, you are only good at that. If you are only good at that and you know nothing better to do that, then it's your profession, you worship, you do it as a worship. It no longer remains, it no longer is, in fact, that's exactly what Karma Yoga is talking about. If you are doing it as Ishwar Arpan, that karma is not bringing you papam. Therefore, the point is getting reinforced through this. Karam yoga karne se you don't get papam. So, Ishwar Arpanam, Ishwar Arpanam, Ishwar Arpanam. In today's world, people have a lot of difficulty identifying what is Ishwar. किसको अर्पण करना है? People keep asking, किसको अर्पण करें हम? भगवान ही नहीं समझ में आता है. भगवान क्या है नहीं पता है. What is God? What is this? Whom do I offer my action to? Offer it to totality if you don't understand Ishwar. That Ishwar is totality. It is the correct definition of Ishwar is the Samashti Chaitanya Ahankari is Ishwar. There is a Chaitanyam in the Samashti. There is a Chaitanyam in the object of the receiver of your action. There is a Chaitanyam, totality Chaitanyam. Usi ka master is, usi ka ruler, usi ka abhimani is Ishwar. Jaise Jeev Chaitanya ka abhimani is this Sharir, This Sharir Chaitanyam ka abhimani is
Human being. Us.
Jiva. Jiva Atma. This human being, absolutely human being. इस शरीर का अभिमानी is this जीवा, जीवा आत्मा जिसको मैं कह रही हूँ, human being. समष्टि जीवा, समष्टि चैतन्य का अभिमानी, अभिमानी means who arrogates. That is Ishwar. So Ishwar Arpanam can be at the level of karma. Ishwar Arpanam can also be of the phalam. Karam pe Ishwar Arpan, I would say, is much more subtler. That's why people are often asking this question. How do I do it? How do I do it? Easier way to identify and start is when the phal comes, that phal is offered back to totality. And that phal, when it is offered back to totality, offered back means I'm not the receiver of it. I take what I need and I return back to society what I don't need. I take what is necessary for my survival, for the well-being of my people, for my immediate dependents. I am plus a little comfortable I can be, but what I don't need, I return back. I give it back. May I be equipped enough. In fact, there's a prayer in the Shastra. May Bhagwan equip me enough that I am able to benefit more and more people. My Shamta should be such that I'll take what I need and I'll return it back. There's so many people in the world who do it in the name of philanthropy. But those philanthropists are not necessarily Karam yogis. They may do their human duty. It is a human duty. Karam Yog specifically clearly becomes Karam Yog when Ishvara is brought in. I am going to take a lot of effort, and third effort as in repetition. When third chapter Karam Yoga also starts, the same thing will come in a lot of detail. This needs to be very clear to everyone. Karam Yoga without Ishwaram is not Karam Yoga, is good karma. Good karma, sukarma. Sukarma, satkarma. Satkarma means a noble action, a good action. But that through the Vedika is only one of the aspects of your human duty. You're supposed to do good actions anyway. You're not supposed to do bad actions. So doing good actions is what they said will give you punyam. Karam Yog is in between punyam and papam. I'm neither floating towards punyam nor towards papam, certainly not towards papam. I am balancing in a neutral way. I'm not seeking punyam, I'm not seeking papam. I am just doing what is expected of me to do. I am good at it, or I have made myself specialize in it, and I just do what I'm supposed to do. Offer it. That is why to practice initially, when people took to Gurukul Vasas, or if they take now, initially in those days, especially in the olden days, where there was a lot more sincerity for people who were approaching the subject for moksha. Today, people approach subject for moksha is very, very low. It's not as much for that because moksha is not seen for whatever reason as a very primary goal in people's lives. And even if it is, it has a lot of layers of confusion there. But there, when society had this as a more noble, more persuable goal for people could think I can spend my life pursuing it for my moksha. There in the Gurukul Vasa, first few years, months, years, the entrant was put only into karma. And karma was identified with service to the ashram or to the guru or to the inmates, to society, to something that, and that was beginning to take the seed of Shuddhi. What is Shuddhi here? What is Chitta Shuddhi? How does Karma Yoga give Chitta Shuddhi? When you start, supposing you have no study in your orientation at all, first few months, and there's a confined, limited space where you live with people, naturally everybody's traits bounce with each other. Just as in a family, what happens? If five people live in a family, is it always harmonious? In fact, it is rarely harmonious. All five people have different views, different ideas, different things. सब अपना अधिकार से जीना चाहते हैं. Same राग द्वेषी will come wherever. वही जीव है. राग द्वेषी ही जीव है. उसका अहंकार ही वो है. वो जब मोक्ष की गति के लिए आता है, the first thing that the job of that was, before you give Gyan, the duty was to help the student have some Shuddhi. Antakaran Shuddhi. And therefore, when they were put into service, I remember in Ramakrishna Mission, I'm not sure what happens now, but when we were students 20, 25 years, 30 years ago, that time one of our Guru Bhais he'd come from Ramakrishna Mission. And he joined Ramakrishna Mission and then he came to study. We were studying together. And he said for 6 months he was put in a job of only cleaning toilets. That's it. Just toilets. Nothing else. Uska kaam, sab ashram ke sab jagah pe, and they had public places also. He was only support. That was his job. Of course, he came for Jnanam, but that jignasa, but that was a methodology adopted. Why? Because when you do karma and it starts to, you don't understand why you are doing, your Ragdvesh comes, मुझे यही क्यों कह रहे हैं, मुझे इतना ही क्यों कहते हैं, ये blah 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 blah, all that starts happening. And when other people also interact, and then now Ragdvesh starts functioning. That's the time the correction starts to happen if there is a sincere student. If there is sincerity in the pursuit. If there's sincerity for moksha, you realize it's your Ragadvesh that is clashing. It is definitely going to be disturbing. Therefore, what does one do? Clean up inward. So outward cleaning was only a lakshana for inward cleaning. What is that inward cleaning? He says, Yoga Buddhi se jud ke. When I say I am doing this action because, it benefits the ashram, or because I've been told to do so, or some other reason, you just pick up a higher reason than what your own self-fulfillment would seek. That becomes, you don't need too much knowledge for that. Simple attitude one can identify, and keeping it in that. He says, Sab तरीकों के कर्म करने से कर्म योग ही एक कर्म का तरीका है जो कुशल है. And that kushalta lies in what? It lies in, he's going to say it now forward. He said, it lies in janma bandha vinirmuktaha. कुशलता क्या है इस कर्म योग की? इसका, it is such a precise way of functioning, doing your karmas, that it has now become the, what would be the right word? It has the capacity to 3-1, vinirmuktaha. Muktaha, freedom. Vinirmuktaha, complete freedom. From what? Janma bandha. That means it cuts away your karma itself. जब कर्म कट जाता है तो फल कट जाता है. कर्म योग कर्म काटता है? नो. कर्म योग सिर्फ कर्ता को शिथिल करता है, कर्ता भाव को हिला देता है. It just makes it weak. That's what karma yoga does. Karma yoga makes it karta weak. But because of that, when the chitta shuddhi is happening, that chitta shuddhi is freeing one from becoming the receiver of it, and finally that jnana yoga will give you janma bandha vinirmukta. So he said, what do the ones who have become alert, conscious, who now know what is to be gained? Human birth में what is to be gained? मुझे क्या प्राप्त कर लेना चाहिए? अब ये जन्म मिला ही है, ह्यूमन बर्थ है, क्या प्राप्त कर लेना चाहिए मुझे? Let's all ask this question to ourselves. मुझे क्या प्राप्त करना है इस जन्म में? And be sincere, be honest. मुझे क्या प्राप्त करना है? घर प्राप्त करना है, ब्रिक्स प्राप्त करनी है, बैंक बैलेंस प्राप्त करना है, रिलेशन प्राप्त करनी है, स्टेटस प्राप्त करना है, ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन प्राप्त करने हैं, क्या और प्राप्ति है? सॉलिटेयर प्राप्त करना है, और क्या होता है प्राप्ति? What else is क्या प्राप्त करना है? आई एम थ्रोइंग अ क्वेश्चन.
इतना
आस्क
प्राप्त
योरसेल्फ.
करना है कि
हाँ
ज्ञान
जी.
योग पे जा
हाँ.
पाए.
और उसके लिए जब हमारी ये विषय जब हमारे मन में आने लगता है ना, when we start thinking मुझे प्राप्त क्या करना है जीवन में, क्या बनना चाहिए मेरे जीवन की जिसको मैं कहूं कि मैंने प्राप्त कुछ तो किया. दिस इज हाउ पीपल बिकम साधक्स. दिस इज हाउ पीपल बिकम भक्तास. दिस इज हाउ पीपल बिकम कर्म योगीज. दिस इज हाउ पीपल फाइंड themselves motivated day after day. Even if the fall is not seen, they don't lose hope. Um, they don't lose. They don't lose the spirit to follow this, because प्राप्ति का जो मुझे बोध है, that's why we said, शास्त्र says, कर्म योग के लिए बुद्धि का होना भी बहुत जरूरी है. That is why he gave सांख्य योग first. Without सांख्य योग का ज्ञान, कर्म योग करने के लिए अंदर से आपको, what is that called, इच्छा ही नहीं जागेगी. If for a little while you may do, and then you'll fall back into the realm of senses. You'll fall back into the realm of inaction. You'll fall back into the realms of tamas. You'll fall back into the realms of desires. You will automatically fall back, because वो आदत जीवत्व में बैठी है. So for that habit to break, to seek something else, he says the person who will be buddhi yuktaha, who's wise, who's got this gyan, he is a manishi. Manishi means, one meaning is who's a wise person, ज्ञानी है, जानता है. क्या जानता है? वो जानता है कि इस जन्म की प्राप्ति किसे कहते हैं, किस चीज की प्राप्ति चाहिए. From bhakti's angle, someone will say, मुझे भागवत प्राप्ति चाहिए, भगवत प्रेम प्राप्ति चाहिए, etc. etc. Clearly, what makes a distinction is, मुझे ऐसी योग्यता चाहिए, मुझे ऐसी स्थिति चाहिए अपने अंदर, जिस स्थिति में आत्म दर्शन हो जाए. That is one of the practice.
Also when you realize ki what you're going to take with you, like with your yesterday's class, that sentence has really left a lot of meaning for me. Where you said, what is it that you can take with you?
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. So what is it that is called prapti? Take it in that same spirit again. वो जो मनीषिणः कौन है? Who has this ज्ञान कि कौन सी प्राप्ति है जो साथ जा रही है, जिसको प्राप्ति कहूं मैं. बाकी सब तो प्राप्ति नहीं है ना, because at another point you lose it. What you have gained today, if you are subject to losing it or to leave it behind to someone, what is that prapti? I made a huge house for myself, supposing 3-floored bungalow I have, and I have all the facilities. I have a swimming pool in my backyard, and I have a vegetable garden, and I have those that people dream for, and then they look at others' homes, and then they say, "Oh, I wish, etc. etc." क्या ये प्राप्ति है? अगर मिल भी जाए तो, what is that song? मिल भी गया तो क्या है? There's a song like that, ना? मिल भी जाए तो क्या है? I think there's a song like that. अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या है?
Guru that song. ये दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या?
क्या? What is that? हाँ, ये
That's
दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या है? That's right.
क्या?
That's right. Absolutely. ये दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या है? What is there? You know? Because what is the answer? मिल भी जाए तो क्या है? If you
आखिर
can,
में छोड़ के जाना ही पड़ेगा.
वो तो या आप छोड़ोगे या वो छूट जाएगी. वो तो छूटेगी. संयोग है तो वियोग तो होगा. तो क्या आप इसको प्राप्ति का लक्षण कहोगे? If I have earned some money today, क्या ये मेरी प्राप्ति का लक्षण है? Is that money a लक्षण of my प्राप्ति?
No.
Why?
It's bound to go. It's come, it's going to go.
Exactly. As I said, I've been saying, वो किसी के हाथ से आया, अभी मेरे हाथ में है तो मेरा लगा, then I'm going to give it to someone else, and वो उसका हो गया, उसको मेरा लगा. ये क्या प्राप्ति का लक्षण है? प्राप्ति तो वही है जिसका नाश नहीं है, उसको प्राप्त कहोगे. तो नाश किसका नहीं है? शम दम आदि शतक संपत्ति, दैट वेल्थ, इसका नाश नहीं है. आप अगर थोड़ी भी ले जाओगे, शम दम आदि शतक संपत्ति, थोड़ी भी अगर आपने इकट्ठी कर ली, प्राप्ति है. मनीषिणः, they know what is the real worth, they know what is to be gained. वो मनीषी है. Another meaning of मनीषी is जिसने अपने मन पे, जिस मन का जो ईश है, who has mastered the mind, अपने मन को उसने मास्टरी कर ली है. That is a manishi, which means he has disciplined himself. In English, if you say, he is disciplined. उसका इंद्रिय निग्रह है, मन निग्रह है, शम दम आदि शतक संपत्ति है. वो मनीषी है. वो मनीषी कौन है? बुद्धि युक्ता ही, इंडीड वही है जो बुद्धि युक्त है. बुद्धि युक्त का मतलब समत्व बुद्धि युक्त, मतलब कर्म योगी. फल त्यक्त्वा, कर्मजम फल त्यक्त्वा. कर्मजम, जम इज बर्थ, कर्मों से जनित जो फल है, त्याग कर, त्यक्त्वा, हैविंग गिवन इट अप, उसको छोड़कर. स्पेसिफिक एंडिंग इट इज त्वा, त्वा, छोड़कर. Having left it, that कर्मजम बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः. उस मनीषी को क्या मिलता है? जन्म बंध विनिर्मुक्ताः. He is freed from the cycle of जन्म. जन्म का जो ये बंधन है, किससे बना है जन्म का बंधन? What has formed?
फल प्राप्ति.
फल प्राप्ति.
Desire.
और फल प्राप्ति कैसे बंधन बनी है?
Desire.
करेक्ट.
राग द्वेष.
सो सकाम कर्म के कर्म से वो कर्म अब आपके बंधन का हेतु बने हैं. The same thing you have said, desires, technically it will become सकाम कर्म, किए हुए कर्म आपका फल का बंधन है, इसलिए जन्म बंधन है. Therefore, this Manishi, who is now tuning, aligning his thoughts and attitudes, his intentions, his motivations, जहां opportunity मिलती है, it is not going to be everything that you can do. Remember always, don't think Karam Yoga has to be perfect. Swalpamapi, complete the verse. Swalpamapi.
Swalpamapi dharmasya, right?
Yes. Swalpamapi dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Swalpamapi, 40th verse. Swalpamapi dharmasya. Which dharmasya? Karam Yoga dharmasya, your duty. वो धर्म जो अपने ड्यूटी समझ के कर रहे हो. स्वल्पम. कर्म योग doesn't mean to be आज के बहुत, and then there's a tension and then oh did I do it? When you are relaxed and when you can identify, when you can do it. Don't have to be bothered. If 90 actions of yours are sakam karam, don't worry. If you did once, you still have opportunity out of the 10. Once, next time it will become 2. Remember my example yesterday I gave you? After 4th day, I remembered which lift I entered. So it doesn't matter. It is a fresh opportunity whenever one has it. It starts there. There's no, otherwise it becomes another result orientation. It becomes again attachment to karma yoga ho raha hai ki nahi ho raha hai. Am I doing karma? Relax. That fine attitude, whenever you identify with it, keep practicing till it comes to that fineness. How will you know it? You will not only know it, you will be able to, the Shastra will verify it. That state of your mind, Shastra will give you that knowledge. Ye wahi hai. You will know it then. You will know your own state of mind, you know. And then Shastra gives the validity. This is that state which is called freedom, which you have earned because of your practice of Karma Yoga. This is that fearlessness. This is that abhayatvam that you have in your chittam. It is not indifference because you are very diligent in your duties. आप अपने कर्मों में बहुत ध्यान रख के कर्म कर रहे हो. Therefore, it is not indifference. It is not carelessness, heedlessness, casualness. You are a worker. You are a disciplined worker. And tasmat yog. Therefore, such a manishi is janma bandha vinirmuktaha karmajam phalam tyaktva. Then what is he? Padam. He goes to that place. He gets that place. He gets that sthiti. What is that? Gacchanti. He goes to that padam, which is anamayam. Anamayam means जिसमें कोई भी क्लेश नहीं है, दुख नहीं है. He goes to that state where it is Gacchanti anamayam. Sarva upadrava rahitam. Anamayam Shankara says Sarva upadrava rahitam. Sarva upadrava rahitam. Upadrav nahi hai us sthiti mein. Everybody knows what is upadrav. What is upadrav? If you were to explain in English, what would you call upadrav as? Very difficult to explain upadrav in English.
Intense or selfish attitude nahi hai.
Upadrav is not a selfish attitude. Upadrav is, किसे कहेंगे उपद्रव? Explain what? Disturbance, struggle, upheavals. Correct.
Shackles.
All these words are. Huh?
Would it be shackles?
Shackles, inner felt shackles. Upadrav, I'll give an example. Good example. If there is a couple who's going through a difficult patch, the relationship is on, what is that? Bayonet point. Resting very fragile. Every day, there is some reason or the other that is playing havoc on their minds. Small things start playing. Upadrav. That is upadrav. Every day there is something or the other that is playing havoc on their mind. It's agitating. Upadrav mat kar. बच्चों को कहते हैं, that child who is always naughtiness में, when he is not playfully naughty but disturbingly naughty, upadrav मचा रहा है. Have you heard this ever being said to a child? Upadrav मचा
Yes.
रहा है वो.
Ma'am, just a nuisance.
It's a creating nuisance is one of the things. Yeah.
What about agitated?
एजिटेट मतलब फालतू में शोर मचा रहा है, उत्पात उत्पात कर रहा है, करेक्ट। फालतू में मतलब फॉर नो रीजन एट ऑल, इट इज जस्ट मेकिंग दिस हल्ला गुल्ला शोर एंड agitation, irritation, all the time restless in the mind, rampage, creating a rampage, creating a ruckus, all of this. Now I'm sure Upadrav is clear. What needs to be understood is our minds sakam mein upadravi hai. They're always disturbed. But when you do karam yoga, then through karam yoga, there are two meanings. I'm first giving the karam yoga. Bhashyakara gives two meanings. Karam yoga karke, there is a certain shantata, relative. There is a certain anandam, detachment. There is a certain freedom. There is a certain objectivity. There is a certain kind of a distance from normal things that people create as problems. राग द्वेष में रह के जो प्रॉब्लम्स होती है, कर्म योग उससे मन को हटा देता है, उठा देता है. तो उपद्रव अब नहीं हो रहा मन में. दैट इज वन स्थिति. मन स्थिति ऐसी है कि उपद्रवी नहीं है अब मन. The other thing he says is he goes to padam param vishnoho moksha akhyam gachanti. He goes to that param padam, which is called as Vishnu padam. Vishnu padam means now a place where you are absolutely in mind one with your highest goal. Vishnu pad hai, where the highest is you're one with it. Gyan se hai ye. The second meaning is with gyan.
You've taken refuge.
Sorry?
I said where you've taken refuge.
Correct. Where you've taken refuge with param padam. But you have, here it is, you have attained it. It's not just, no, it is not just taken refuge, that is in Karam Yoga. He has attained, now it's giving a phala prapti. He has attained that padam, which is known as Vishnu padam, the highest, where there is sarva upadrava rahitam, a sthan in your own self. आपके अंदर एक ऐसी स्थिति है, आप में एक ऐसी स्थिति है जहां कोई उपद्रव पहुंचता नहीं है, which is free of all upadrav. So it is like saying on the screen in a movie theater, what is happening when the movie is projected?
You become a part of that world. इस दुनिया में आप हो जाते हो.
Okay, no. With respect to the screen and the movie on the screen, what is a movie in this example? Upadrav. What is a screen? Is it affected by the upadrav?
No, it's the substratum.
It's the substratum. It is free of, screen is unaffected. It is free of all upadrav. But without the screen, nothing is known, nothing is seen, nothing is, upadrav होने के लिए भी screen होना है. So that स्थिति of yours, आप में है वो. आप में है मतलब आप हो वो. But this padam is reached as aap ho. How does it come? Look at the gain of Karam Yoga. That Karam Yoga will give you Vishnu Padam, qualify you for Jnanam, which will give you Sarva Upadrava Rahita Sthiti, free of all, where no Upadrav touches you. And that is how these Mahatmas, when you hear their stories, they can objectify the body and the thoughts so completely as one with the world. Ramana is the one I can closely say in the immediate times. We may have great acharyas, but who is in that sthiti? जो स्थिति पा चुके, where the शरीर and the विचार, मन में जो स्थिति आती है, मन में जो स्थितियां आती हैं, जो विचार आते हैं, जो थॉट्स आते हैं, they are seen as one with the world. इंद्रियों के विषयों के साथ के थॉट्स हैं ये एक तरफ है, मगर वो उस स्थिति में बैठ जाते हैं where this doesn't touch them. It doesn't affect them. That much practice is done. That much consistency is shown. That much consistency is a very short word. It's a very small word actually. It's not adequate for this kind of a glorious effort.
Tapas.
Tapas. That's the right word. Correct. This much tapas is done. And after some time it ceases to be tapas. It becomes their nature. Because they are that. वही है वो. So, such a person, कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धं विनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्ति अनामयम्. So just in case I missed something, I'll just quickly go through the bhashyam. कर्मजं फलं त्यक्त्वा इति व्यवहितेन सम्बन्धः इष्ट अनिष्ट देह प्राप्तिः कर्मजं फलम्. So with all your karmajam phalam, you can only get desirable birth or undesirable birth according to your karma phal, what has to mature, what has to be fructified. Ishta prapti ho sakti hai, anishta deha prapti ho sakti hai. That is called karmajam phalam. Karmabhyaha jatam. That is all that can come. But buddhi yuktaha samatva buddhi yuktaha. So what is buddhi yuktaha? Samatva buddhi yuktaha. Santaha. रहते हुए, समत्व बुद्धि युक्त होके कर्म करते हुए. He indeed, yasmat. So करते हुए, one sentence. कर्मजं फलं त्यक्त्वा ते जो संबंध इष्ट अनिष्ट प्राप्ति देह प्राप्ति का है, that समत्व बुद्धि युक्त होते हुए यस्मात् फलम त्यक्त्वा, giving up the phalam परित्यज्य मनीषिणः ज्ञानिनः भूत्वा, such wise people, जन्म बंध विनिर्मुक्ताः, जन्म एव बंधः जन्म बंधः तेन विनिर्मुक्ताः जीवन्तः एव. This is the point I missed. It is not only after death that they will get that state. Jeevantah eva. While you are alive, Jeevan Mukti. While you are alive also, Janma Bandhat Vinirmuktaha Santaha. They live a life freed of all this Upadrava. And they go to Padam Param Vishnoho, which is called Moksha, which is known by what? How do you understand moksha? How do you recognize moksha? Shastra says, उस स्थान में, उस स्थिति में, because this is जीवन मुक्ति, जीते हुए आप अंदर उस स्थान में एस्टैब्लिश हो गए हो जहां कोई उपद्रव उसे टच नहीं करता. Nothing touches. What is our mental state today? Opposite of it. What is it? Example. हमारा मन इतना अफेक्ट होता है, कितना होता है? Can anybody give an example? Contrast of it. This is Manishi का example. सब उपद्रवों से रहित है, जीवा का मन कैसा है?
It's always
उपद्रवी है।
incomplete, looking for some desire or the other to get completed, and a desire
Sometimes
to
किसी ने कुछ
satisfy.
कह दिया और डिस्टर्ब हो गया, किसी ने नहीं कहा तो डिस्टर्ब हो गया, जो कहना चाहिए वो नहीं कहा तो डिस्टर्ब हो गया। फिक्र करे, मतलब वी आर रेस्टिंग ऑन सच स्टेट ऑफ डिस्टर्बेंस दैट इट इज सो कंडीशनल कि कुछ हमारे हिसाब से नहीं हो रहा तो हो गया तो खुश। supposedly all this he's going to explain in the 63rd 64th verse of this chapter. Remember the context there. उपद्रवी कैसे बनता है मन हमारा, he's going to detail it step by step. How does our mind become what it is today for most of us? That's true. Even an advertisement will also sell to you, correct? Constant restlessness. Even when we look at ads, television ads, even they make it excited. They make it posters, ads. Even वो भी हमारे मन को हिला देता है. That much. मन हिल जाना, in other words. And जब मन हिलता है, normally people will lose this vision. That's why this is constant heard and that vyavasayatmika buddhi, निश्चयात्मिका बुद्धि is necessary. वरना मन हिल जाता है, कहीं और चला जाता है. It goes into the realms of other pursuits, other areas where it sees the phal. And ये पूरा prayojan becomes, first it takes a back seat, becomes secondary, and धीरे धीरे it gets pushed back and Jivatvam takes over again. But for one who is blessed, they are Viveki. और विवेक से उनका वैराग्य है. And that next verse he's going to talk. Those who are yoganishta, janita, कर्म योग से निष्ठ होके, means they have abided in it. अब उनकी आदत ही पड़ गई है कर्म योग करने की. That if you don't find a duty somewhere, there is no action you can do. ड्यूटी के भी कंडीशंस है ना. अगर वो कंडीशंस ही नहीं है, सपोजिंग देयर इज नो लॉन्गर अ ड्यूटी लेफ्ट टू डू, सो देयर इज नो कर्मा टू डू. योग निष्ठ अनुष्ठान करते करते जिनका स्वभाव हो गया है कर्म योग का, उनकी सत्व शुद्धि हो गई है. अंतकरण शुद्धि से जो प्राप्ति हुई है बुद्धि की, what gain have they got from it? What have they got from it? वो प्राप्ति क्या है? कदा? Someone can get the question. वो प्राप्ति क्या है? And कब होगी? कदा? When? When will I get it? That answer is in the next verse, 52nd verse. We'll do it in next class. Next week we will do it. Next week, Saturday, is Gita Jayanti. Gita Jayanti means acceptable date where Krishna gave this Gita to Arjuna. And it has always been a very special day. There are historians, there are calculators who put it on another date. And for us, it's irrelevant. साल में कोई एक दिन पकड़ लो. How does it matter which day it was? It is a day that you identify as a day where Gita got manifestation in creation. This knowledge took a manifestation. Today, if it has come to us, it is because this words agar kabhi nikle, Krishna gave those words, Vyasa wrote those words. Because those words came, Arjuna's context brought those words. Mahabharata brought this knowledge out. It is a manifestation which is guiding endless people in their spiritual pursuit. Next Saturday, I think it is Saturday only, 3rd of December. I think it is Saturday. I think it's 3rd and I think it's Saturday. If it is,
It's
it
Saturday.
is. Huh.
Third Saturday.
So
Yes.
I am thinking still, but in likelihood, I forgot to calculate. I will chant the first 3 verse chapters because we are almost completing the 2nd chapter and the 3rd chapter before we start the class. I think it takes about half an hour before. I have forgotten. If someone can help me with the maths, I'll add up, please. The first chapter takes about approximately how much time? 15 minutes is the first chapter. The 2nd chapter takes about 25 minutes. How much is it? 25 plus 15? 2,
40
3, 4,
minutes.
40 minutes. Oh, okay. I guess that those 2 chapters should be good enough then. 3rd chapter will take about another 15 minutes. How much will it be then? 40 plus 15, 55. That will be too much. So we will do first 2 chapters before the class. Which means, how much did we say? How much did we say, Divya? 40?
40
minutes.
40 minutes.
So if the class starts at 5:30, what is 40 minutes behind?
4:50.
4:50. So quarter to 4. We can take a little extra. So quarter to 4, is it? That would be quarter to
5.
4:45. So we will. Oh, 4:40 is it? Oh, so 4:30. 4:30.
Okay.
We will meet at 4:30. Yeah, almost. So that we may be a little slow. I don't know how we'll go about. Most probably, I'll just chant on my end, and you can all follow because all of you are now learning, and you'll also be able to do it in your. By next year, next to next year, it'll all get completed. Doesn't matter, time doesn't matter at all, as we said. But this will be our first as a fresh class. This is called Arpanam. This is recognizing the value of these words. The least we can do is just chant them. So 1 hour before, even if you don't know, just keep at it. Listen, try, practice Ucharan, and we have a class now. Shruti is taking a class for all of you. The fresh people, the older students, anyway she's taking a class. They can join the older batch. The new ones can join the new batch. They have it every Mondays, new batch. Thursday evenings, old batch. I will just keep this as distinct and just chant myself here 1 hour, 4:30 before we start the class. In appreciation and in gratitude. It is very, very, if you have a desire for knowledge, and if people tell you that this has knowledge, Gita mein gyan hai, Gita mein gyan hai, and when you opened the Gita and you saw only Kalakshar there, you can only see the words and you don't even know what they mean. Ye kya gyan hai? That is how important knowing this becomes to one who is wanting to know the way to moksha. इस जीवन में प्राप्ति अगर मोक्ष की है, तो why will I settle for anything else? And if I have to qualify for moksha, तो वो क्या ज्ञान है जो मोक्ष देता है? क्या चीज है? Is it सर पे खड़े होके मोक्ष मिलेगा? Is it डाइट बदल के मोक्ष मिलेगा? Is it सर्विस करके मोक्ष मिलेगा? मोक्ष क्या मरने के बाद मिलेगा? मोक्ष कहते किसको हैं? मोक्ष होता भी है कि नहीं है? कितने प्रश्न हैं? And सबका समाधान कि my buddhi can, he is going to say it in this यदा ते मोह कलिलम, ये सब मोह को जो नाश कर देती है और बुद्धि को एकदम क्लियर कर देती है, रास्ता साफ दिखाती है. It's like a torchlight thrown in front of you. showing you the way clearly that you can be freed of all kinds of dispersive and what is that? Contrary thoughts and opinions of the world, each claiming themselves to be the right path, जो सब मोह को नष्ट करके, it can make you steadfast on it. That is this knowledge. So we are in a way it falls on the day of the class. Therefore, 4:30 next week. Since I don't send messages anymore, we'll keep this as a message in itself. Okay, so we'll end the class here. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Parapalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Kshobarahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Deepti ji. Thank you very much. Thank you.